Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're diving headfirst into a really fascinating mystery. We're looking at the world's most forbidden doors, strictly guarded zones, and those hidden places that both locals and governments desperately want to keep you away from. I mean, we live in an age where it feels like every single corner of the globe is mapped out and totally accessible, right? But the truth is, our planet is actually covered in these invisible, impenetrable boundaries. Let's start with a really provocative question. Because let's face it, human beings are naturally drawn to places with big, bold, no trespassing signs. The absolute second we're told we can't go somewhere, our minds immediately start begging to know what's hidden on the other side. Is it a massive state secret, some kind of deadly hazard, or, maybe something incredibly fragile? As we unpack the source material today, we're going to explore exactly how our relentless human curiosity interacts with these invisible lines and ask ourselves, is the desire to uncover every mystery actually doing way more harm than good?
Section 1. Top Secret Government Zones. The Allure of the Unknown.
Now, if there is one place on Earth that literally defines the concept of a forbidden zone, it has to be Area 51. Sitting way out there in the remote Nevada desert, it is absolutely the undisputed king of classified military installations. Now, for decades, it's fueled endless UFO conspiracy theories. But honestly, its actual, officially documented purpose is just as intriguing. It's an active testing ground for highly classified experimental aircraft. If you even attempt to approach the perimeter of this facility, you're going to trigger an immediate military response and face some seriously hefty federal penalties. And really, that sheer wall of secrecy surrounding it is exactly what makes it so globally famous in the first place.
It's actually super fascinating to contrast a modern military black site like that with a 1,000-year-old institutional archive. On one hand, we've got Area 51, modern military secrets secured by heavily armed guards and motion detectors. And then on the other hand, we have the Vatican Apostolic Archives, which you might know by its former name, the Secret Archives. This facility holds a mind-blowing 85 kilometers of shelving, just packed with state papers and papal correspondence dating back a millennium. But instead of armed soldiers, the Vatican uses strict academic gatekeeping. Access is heavily restricted and only granted to uniquely qualified scholars who have very specific research needs. So both of these places brilliantly exploit our deep desire to uncover hidden truths, but they do it using completely different methods of control.
And governments will go to incredible lengths to keep us in the dark, sometimes literally in the dark. Consider Metro 2. This is an alleged, completely secret subterranean transit system in Russia. Now, according to the source material, this massive network is rumored to run even deeper than the standard public Moscow metro system. And while its existence remains officially unconfirmed by the Russian government, the heavy security that's constantly observed around suspected entrances suggests that something highly significant and completely off-limits lies right beneath the city's streets.
Which brings us to Section 2, Sanctuaries Lost to Time, Isolation by Choice and Design.
5. I really want you to let that number sink in for a second. 5. That is the staggering density of deadly golden lancehead vipers per square meter on Brazil's Snake Island. Yeah, up to 5 highly venomous snakes for every single square meter of land. And their venom, it is so incredibly potent that it's actually capable of melting human flesh. Absolutely terrifying, right? Because of this, the Brazilian Navy strictly prohibits anyone from landing there. It really goes to show that sometimes Mother Nature steps up and enforces her own unyielding travel bans to protect us from sudden, terrifying death. Now, in other cases, human isolation is fiercely protected by law. Take North Sentinel Island over in the Andaman Islands. The Sentinelese people living there represent one of Earth's very last uncontacted tribes, and they have violently and rightfully rejected outside contact for centuries. So, to protect them from modern diseases, which they have absolutely zero immunity to, by the way, Indian law legally enforces an invisible boundary. They strictly prohibit anyone from approaching within 3 miles of the island's shores. And recent, super tragic encounters with outsiders have violently underscored exactly why their right to isolation absolutely must be respected.
So, the really crucial takeaway here is that in some of these incredibly fragile time capsules, just the mere presence of a human being is inherently dangerous. For example, let's compare Lascaux Cave in France with Surtsey Island in Iceland. Lascaux actually contains humanity's earliest masterpieces. We're talking 17,000-year-old cave paintings. But the original cave had to be permanently closed to the public back in 1963. Why? Because simply the carbon dioxide and moisture from human breath was literally destroying the ancient art.
Meanwhile, Surtsey Island emerged from the ocean in 1963 and was immediately closed off. In this case, it was so scientists could study how a brand new ecosystem develops completely free from human interference. In both of these unique scenarios, our mere presence is a fundamentally destructive force. And that brings us to this profoundly thought-provoking quote derived from the source material. Sometimes the journey isn't worth the destination. It's a pretty shocking realization about our unyielding desire to explore the unknown, isn't it? It really forces us to completely pivot our perspective. We always kind of assume that exploration is this inherently noble pursuit. But as we've just seen, crossing these boundaries can literally result in death, the destruction of ancient history, or the violation of isolated peoples. Moving right along to Section 3, Loving Places to Death, the Cost of Human Curiosity. Just look at the sheer scale of the crisis in Venice, Italy. You have a mere 50,000 permanent residents who are actively attempting to survive under the absolute crushing weight of 20 million annual tourists. That is 20 million. The local infrastructure simply can't handle it. You've got massive cruise ships dumping sewage, causing huge amounts of erosion, and completely crowding out the historic canals. And because of this astronomical influx of people, this beautiful historic city is literally sinking 1 to 2 millimeters every single year. It is a heartbreaking prime example of a destination slowly being erased by its own popularity. And sadly, a very similar tragedy is unfolding over in Greece. Santorini hosts 2 million tourists annually against just 15,000 permanent residents. During the peak summer months, these massive cruise ships dump up to 18,000 passengers onto the island every single day. That astronomical volume of human traffic severely strains the local water supplies and actually threatens the physical stability of the island's iconic caldera. It's just a completely unsustainable equation. And the casualties of this overtourism are happening globally. Unfortunately, social media has basically turned some of the world's most pristine locations into overcrowded wastelands. Maya Bay in Thailand had to be completely closed for 4 whole years because tourist boats caused a total ecosystem and coral reef collapse. Boracay in the Philippines was quite literally shut down for 6 months after severe pollution turned it into what was locally described as a massive cesspool. And even Mount Everest Base Camp is currently threatened by the sheer volume of human waste and garbage left behind by tens of thousands of trekkers. We are literally loving these natural wonders to death, and it's forcing complete closures just to allow nature a chance to heal. All right, Section 4, Respecting the Invisible Boundaries, the Call for Responsible Travel. So to actually be conscious global citizens, we've really got to adopt some practical steps here. First, before you travel, thoroughly research local conditions and cultural sensitivities. Next, put your money where your mouth is and support tour operators who actively prioritize conservation. Also, try to travel during off-peak seasons. That massively reduces the crushing burden on local infrastructure. And finally, most importantly, respect no-go zones. We need to realize that boundaries, whether they're set by the military, by indigenous tribes, or by environmentalists, are not just fun challenges for us to overcome. They are absolutely vital shields protecting the world's magic, security, and history. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a thought to chew on for your future adventures. We all have this deep-seated drive to uncover a mystery. But what if our curiosity is the very thing destroying it? The world's most shocking restricted places really remind us that inaccessibility often enhances a destination's lure. Sometimes the absolute greatest wonder lies in showing restraint, respecting the boundaries, and simply leaving a place alone. Thank you so much for joining me today, and as always, keep questioning the world around you.